Hey, dope people. It's your girl Paisley. I'm the Mindset Makeover Maven and the Dope Life Movement Creator. And we are here where SIP's about to go down. You know what time it is. So if you are joining us live, go ahead and drop your heart emojis down below. And if you're catching us upon the replay, make sure you drop your number twos in the comments down below. And don't forget to tell us what you're sipping on. We don't care what it is. It can be anything from sparkling water to sparkling wine, everything in between and beyond. And I got my partner over here making sure we don't have no technical difficulties. Y'all think he's not paying attention. He's paying attention. And we have some special guests here on this evening. So we're going to jump in it like double dutch and get into it. So thank you so much for joining us. Gentlemen, we have some of the owners. And first of all, let me get back to it. It's Love and Legacy Month. We room for everybody that's Black. And so, listen, Black car, Black people, Black pants, whatever you gonna do, we doing it Black this month for sure. And so this is a Black owned brand. We always feature different whatever we're sipping on, right? Anything. And today we have a special spirit and some special gentlemen here to represent their brand. So we have Kelvin and Charles from Still Moon Moonshine on here. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So and so there's 6 of you guys that are the brand owners for Still Moon Moonshine. You guys, so we have a small representation of the collective here with us on this evening, and they sent us this beautiful bottle of apple pie moonshine. Y'all know how I feel about moonshine, so if you've been watching Sippin and So to Speak, you know how I feel about moonshine. I absolutely enjoy it, and I know y'all didn't expect that when I first told you. They were like, what? She like moonshine? Yes. I enjoy some good moonshine. So you guys were so gracious to share with us the apple pie expression that you have. And we're gonna jump into it, but I want you guys to share a little bit about deciding to get into the hooch business.
Absolutely. And why specifically moonshine?
Oh wow, the hooch business. I'll start and Kelvin, feel free to jump in. Well, as it relates to being passionate about what you do, they say if you're passionate about what you do, then it's not work. This is definitely not work for us, although it does take a huge undertaking. It's based on family. I think that's the basis of all that we do and what we try to do, and wanting to build a legacy for our kids and grandkids and those to come. But at the end of the day, it's about family, and I'll let Kelvin jump in and expand on the family plus conversation aspect of it.
So we all went to undergrad together at North Carolina A&T.
Okay.
And we have one member that's also a member of Hampton University Pirates. And so when we say it's much like a family, we all grew up together. So as young men coming in.
Shout out to HBCU.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And so when we say we literally grew up together, family-wise, friends-wise, raising each other's kids, we did. And so the congregation, I call it a moonshine, was something that we always were around, and we always hung out, partied with it, socialized with it. We were fortunate enough to have one of our partners, whose great granddaddy came up with a recipe that we basically perfected, and we called the evolution of moonshine. And so we took what he did really exceptionally well and brought it to market in a way that it would sustain itself and also sort of be what we call the next generation of moonshine from that standpoint. And so Talking about a bunch of guys that knew nothing about the beverage business that really built this business based on relationships. So everywhere we've gone from the starting point to now has been based on relationships. And that's really how we operate. We always say if we can't sit down and have a great alcohol and a sip with you, we call it alcohol and conversations, or whiskey and conversations for that matter, then we don't do business with you. And that's just sort of how we built our business over all of this time.
And just to add to that, it's evolved. It's the sophisticated sipping, Sean. So it enhances the moonshine aspect of it without having the moonshine triple X jug effect.
You know, because people expect moonshine to come in a mason jar. You're gonna, sit on somebody's porch and, just on a hot summer's day, and that's it. But this is sophisticated. It is more refined, right? It's for those people who want to go to the bar and say, I would like some apple pie moonshine, thank you. So your packaging is great. You have. Tell me about this label, though. I'm always interested in like the background of how people come up with their branding, because branding is my thing. So tell me about this label.
And again, I'll start and let Kelvin jump in. Well, the label went through multiple redos, renovations, evolutions. And at the end of the day, so again, you have to wind the clock back. We're all originally from North Carolina.
Okay.
We consider ourselves to be, country born and raised. And as you know, the running of moonshine, it always took place in the dark of night. And that's why they call it moonshine. And it was it was made in the woods and delivered in the middle of the night.
Right.
Hence the name moonshine. If you do your history research, you'll find out that some of the runners of moonshine included African Americans that assisted as well as developed moonshine. And so we wanted to make sure we gave deference to our past. And Kelvin, feel free to jump in as it relates to the jug that you have behind you.
So Sean is 100% correct. We always like to take credit for the logo, but it's not mine solely. I was an artist in school and still am, but we wanted to combine the old with the new. And so the jug was something that was synonymous. It was iconic, just like moonshine is iconic. When you think about some of those major brands, Coca-Cola, Harley Davidson, when people see that jug, they know it's moonshine. And so we took what was essentially great granddaddy's story. And so as you read that story under the still of the night, you have this picturesque picture of the moon and the jug sort of symbolizing still moon. And so if you look closely at the artwork, you'll see the backwoods there that we talk about in our storyline. You'll see the iconic jug and the moon as well. And so, and we developed in a way that we wanted you to be able to stand from a good distance away and be able to say, hey, that's still moon. It's not hard to figure out. It's easy to see, it's easy to understand. And so we're proud of that bottle. We went through a lot of different iterations of that bottle to try to figure out what worked. We dealt with COVID just like everybody else, but we had to, adjust on the fly and change our bottle. So you'll see different iterations of that bottle, but like every fine product or premium product, each bottle is a very nice bottle. And it was just only because of supply and demand coming out of COVID that we made those changes. But we are in love with the bottle that we have. We share it with some other spirits, but at the same time, we did not want to be in a mason jar. There's nothing premium about a mason jar. We can't sit on the top shelf in a mason jar, and we feel very strongly about that. And so that's part of that evolution of moonshine. So when people think about moonshine, they have these pictures and ideas and what it looks like. And that's why we pay homage to the jug, but there's nothing juggish about that bottle or that logo that we put out.
Absolutely. Definitely agree. Well, we're
Very
going to
well
get into
done.
it.
First of all, it smells amazing. When she popped the cork on it, gentlemen, it smells phenomenal.
What do you smell?
Yeah.
Cinnamon. Fruit and
Something else.
cinnamon.
I mean, the apple is the easy part, but
You should also smell some corn notes in there. Our product is one of the very few that's 100% corn.
That's
okay.
what.
That was intentional. And so you'll get a little sweetness with that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's very good.
Thank
Definitely
you. Thank
That
you.
was a reflex reaction. That is very good.
You were waiting to get slapped and you didn't get slapped. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, so listen, we were laughing
Yeah,
about this.
I say all the time, I don't want my liquor to bite me back.
We were
I'm
laughing
gonna bite
about
around these parts.
laughing about this before we came on. So you talk about, the backwoods in North Carolina. I grew up in the DC, Maryland area. I have friends who have family who absolutely positively brewed on their property. So I've had moonshine before. It's always been an amazing job, right? I've had apple pie moonshine before. It's never ever been this smooth. To your point, you just kind of expect, right, a bite, and it's more of a means to an end. But this is phenomenal, gentlemen.
Very good. I'm gonna put some ice in my glass. We always like to sip it, and usually we'll make a cocktail, but I think that this deserves to be on the rocks or neat.
I'm gonna keep this neat. You can
Yeah.
appreciate you. Thank
I
you.
heard you the first time.
So what you're drinking is 60 proof. So everybody always asks us what the proof is, and everybody always tries to figure out how, where that smoothness comes from. But a lot of that has to do with the 100% corn factor. And so a lot of the other products or the backwoods products are always 70% one thing, 20% something else, 10% something this. And so that harshness that you used to feel in your chest and that kind of stayed with you the next morning when you woke up, you don't have any of that. We have a white peach that's 60 proof, and you're drinking the apple pie, but we also have a reserve that's 100 proof. It's like drinking water. And so people are always surprised at how smooth our product is, but that's part of that evolution of it. So you still get the cleanness of it, and you can drink it neat. You can drink it on ice. We have a lot of recipes, but most people don't know that's 60 proof. So it's not. It may taste kind of light, but it's not. It's actually got.
It's deceptive.
So your reserve is that is unflavored? Is that just like the
Correct.
white type of?
Okay.
Correct.
It's like water.
So you have to understand that, we grew up around guys that, a lot of them, they didn't go to the liquor store and they prefer what they call white. And so the 100 proof is the reference to them, and having the white, with nothing in it. They might put in a couple of spots of water or ice, and they're good.
Yeah.
And
listen, I'm gonna be looking for that one. Because traditionally, I don't love super sweet stuff. Now, I'm not saying that this is super sweet, but I would love to try that because you're saying how smooth it is, and it's unflavored. So that right there would probably be my jam for real.
Okay, we'll make sure you get a bottle as soon as this podcast is over.
You'll be amazed that most women like the higher proof. We've done enough events, and even we were surprised when we first launched the product, because the demographic that we were going after, believe it or not, were actually women. We actually designed it to go after the female marketplace. And so when we went to a lot of these different whiskey festivals, women actually preferred the higher proof, and they actually consume more of the reserve than the flavors, which I thought was interesting. And so as sort of the phenomenon of whiskey and bourbon has grown, those categories have grown. More women are drinking more whiskey and more bourbon. and they can stand their own ground. They really can. So I'm not surprised you say that. But yeah, we'll make sure you get a bottle, but you can't drink the reserve like you drink the apple. I will tell you that up front. It is true. But
you forewarned.
I'm an accomplished connoisseur of cocktails.
we've heard a lot of
Oh,
people
we
say that.
believe you.
We've heard a lot of people say that.
When she pops the bottle, I'll be there to assure her safety. Friends don't let friends drink alone. Listen, I want to commend you all, gentlemen, for a couple of things. So first of all, I'm listening to you talk, right? And there's an obvious true intention behind the quality of the product that you brought to market. And your timing is phenomenal. I think that people's palates are evolving, and people who enjoy spirits are coming into a better understanding of what they're drinking, what's in what they're drinking, right? Along with people wanting to be more healthy, people are becoming aware of the additives, right? And some of the traditional brands that we've leaned towards. And so you guys have phenomenal time in that regard, in the quality of your product.
Absolutely. I think that, we talk about people like to give cocktails genders, right? Or spirits genders, right? That's a drink for a man, or that's a drink for a woman. And I think it's a drink for whoever wants to drink it. So at the end of the day, right, we all have different palates, and our palates do expand and they do adjust and change. And I do find that, a lot of women are looking for something that they can enjoy. They can enjoy it neat. It doesn't have to be, the cocktail doesn't need to come with an umbrella. It doesn't need to have 17 different types of sugars in it and things like that. We want to enjoy the spirit itself. And I think that as you grow, like initially, right, when you guys were in college, you're probably drinking just to, get a little buzz or whatever you're trying to do. And now we're trying to enjoy the spirit, right? We want to be able to smell the whatever the aroma is that's coming off of that spirit. We want to be able to taste it and taste the different flavors, the mouthfeel of it. Even like when I put the ice in here, I could see like this has a great body, and I love even if I'm drinking wine, I prefer to have body. I don't want it to be just, la-di-da. I want to feel that I'm having an actual spirit. I want to feel that I'm having an actual cocktail. So the mouthfeel of this is great. You can see when you put the ice in it that it's a quality spirit. And I think a lot of the times we're just kind of, we're drinking whatever is popular and whatever somebody's told us. And we're passing the shelf of these brands that are not necessarily well known to us at this time. And we did last year, I had a woman guest host with me. We did a series in March called Women's Wisdom in Whiskey. And I was not a whiskey drinker. And I was just like, I came to love a lot of the different whiskeys and bourbons and things that are out there. So, and I encourage people to try something different. Like we think you hear moonshine, and I've told you guys this before, you think you hear moonshine, it's like, it's going to put hair on your chest, it's going to bite you back. It doesn't have to. Try something different if that's what you found. Try Still Moon. If that's what you found previously that has happened for you, try something new, try something different, or try it in a different way. Because one of the things that you said, Charles, was like the reserve, you might put a little drop of water in it or whatever. Try it a little differently so that you can see if it does resonate with your palate, so that you can experience and enjoy the spirit.
No, that's a great point, and part of our growth and collaboration is that we have collaborated with mixologists who may work in this easy concept as it relates to bars and restaurants. And what we found out is that they appreciate the essence and the body of a sophisticated corn whiskey, as it relates to their drinks and development of drinks. And so we tend to lean into that because that's our direction and that's the audience that we're looking for. Those that, like it was mentioned, the palate has developed over time. And we definitely consider Still Moon to be in the concept of development of your palate, and it's a sophisticated sip and shine.
I want to commend you all for a few things. So first of all, so as Paisley was saying, this entire series this month is about love and legacy, right? And so this is the third week of us doing it. You all are the third spirit brand who are bringing a product to market as a family. The first two were couples. Love seeing you all as brothers partner together, and not to ignore the sister that you have as a part of the team, but that friendship, that bond, and that family. Also, it requires courage, right, to bring a product to market and to do it in a different fashion. And so I'll say again, I like moonshine before. The stigma that comes with it, it's anything but sophisticated. Please know, when I was drinking moonshine, I was in my boy's dad's garage, right? In the country, right? Or we were sitting out in the garage it just kind of goes with that. And traditionally, right, that's where it originated from. So we don't run away from that. But I want to tell you all, mission accomplished, because this absolutely feels, tastes, and appeals as absolutely sophisticated. And I wouldn't put those two things together, but you've absolutely accomplished that.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. That was the goal.
And as a fellow HBCU, I went to Virginia State, and I'm telling you, there's nothing like the family that you have from going to an HBCU and those people that you meet there and come together with. So, for you guys to be able to have been together at North Carolina A&T, become family there, create something amazing, and then just to continue all of these years later, that's a testament within itself. A lot of times, friendships don't necessarily last, right? People go their different ways, and you guys are all over the country, and you're still together as partners in a business, from a relationship that started back when you were probably 18, 19 years old. So shout out to the long-term relationships.
Definitely. In that, and again, we want to make sure that we reference North Carolina A&T as well as Hampton University, because again, at the end of the day, even Virginia Union, we're all family. And with that being said, trust and believe. We support each other like family, but we also have deep conversations like family.
Listen, it would not be right if you did not. It just would. If you came in here and said we never had a deep conversation that turned into a quasi situation, I'll be side-eyeing you, right? But and that's what happens when we're building a foundation on love and legacy.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your Still Moon Moonshine. Guys, if you want to know where to find it, you can go to delaceypaisley.com and make sure you sign up for the newsletter. We will share that information with you, or you can go to their website, and they do have a list of the retailers where they are if they're in your area. Go get it, and if they're not, ask for it by name.
Absolutely.
So when I say by name, I don't say go in there and ask for apple pie moonshine. I say go in there and ask for a Still Moon apple pie moonshine, right? And that way they know that you are very specific. And I'll tell you, when you go to your favorite bar, restaurant, liquor store, and ask for something specifically, they start looking at you differently. They start to say, wait a minute. Oh, I don't know about that. Where'd you hear about that? And they will take note, right? And if you want to try it and it's not in your area, ask them, can they get it, right? There's nothing that says that you can't ask. And but be very intentional and be very specific when you go into these places. ask for the things that you want by name.
Gentlemen, we appreciate you all carving out some time for us. Listen, we wish you massive, massive success. You have a phenomenal product. Kelvin, I just want you to know the entire time I've been sitting here, I have absolute beard envy. I got a little baby beard. I'm working on it. Maybe when we get you all the premium product, it'll help me. I don't need to put hair on my chest and put some more hair on my face. I'd be like you when I grow up with my beard.
So done, beard envy. Father
Love
God.
it, love it. No,
Thank you,
but
gentlemen, for being here. We definitely
Cheers, gentlemen.
appreciate you, and I look forward to my reserve.
Absolutely.
You got
It's on the
it.
way. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for
Best
having
wishes,
us.
gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we over here sipping on a little bit of apple pie moonshine from Still a Moon. And I got my little partner here, my sidekick, my dog. And this is Victor Vaughn from the King's Cutting Board podcast. And we are here with the third episode in the Love and Legacy series.
Oh, sir, you didn't want to.
The whole
All the stuff you
series
didn't even want to talk
that
about.
I did not want to do. Listen, I didn't. I kicking and screaming. I was just like, I don't love it. I don't want to do it. I was traumatized.
That voice.
I don't want it. I don't want to. I was traumatized from the last series. I really was. And I mean, can I keep it a buck?
Please, that's all we do.
Like, I was so traumatized from the last series of relationship series because I just was like, it's too divisive. It's not talking about how we come together and how we heal, especially in our community,
Absolutely.
right? You know, February is a lot of things to a lot of people, right? It's the month of love. It is the month of Black History Month. And so that's how we came with Love and Legacy, right? Because it's the month of love. And so I've always done the series in the month of February, right? The relationship series. And I was just like, after the last one, I wanted to take the whole bottle to the head. Because I it's like, and I had, you know, we got the perspective of different I always like to get the perspective of men and women, right? And I was just like, this, I don't necessarily love how we're doing love, especially at this big groaning, right?
Yes.
And for me, and that's the bigger thing, right? You know, we people of a certain age, we should be, when you know better, you do better, right? And I was like, Father God, somebody help us all. And so I don't love a lot of the things that you know kind of are out there. I think that people are looking for love in all the wrong places.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, but somebody please call 911. Because you know, Watch Wasn't Married like had a whole thing about like we are there. There's a lot of toxicity that's happening, and people don't love like, oh, that's masculine, you know, toxic masculinity, or you know, she's toxic, or this is my toxic trait, and things like. Listen, everything ain't good for everybody. And some people are toxic, right? In general. And some people are just toxic for the person that they're, so that's not their person, right? Because, right, if I'm allergic to strawberries and you're not, it's not toxic for you. But I could die.
So I commend you, right? I commend you for doing something that you did not want to do, right? I've said this each episode. I've given you your props. The name, the branding, Love and Legacy. is poignant, powerful, it's profound, I think, beyond just the initial listening ear.
Yeah.
Because our love and our legacy are tied. Our legacy is the story, the furtherance and the continuation of our people. And that hopefully happens through love, right? Mom and daddy had to lie down, right?
Well,
and
hope
procreate
we hope they love
for
each other.
us to have a legacy. And so I think we are in this very unique, very dope, very toxic, very bound, very free, very organic, very unhealthy. It's all these
the
confluence of things when you take into consideration. To some extent, we're in uncharted territory, right? And we're talking tonight about healing before dating. But just a generation ago, if we think about our parents, and it wasn't even dating, it was courting, right? And there were a set of stereotypical things that men did, that men asked for, that women didn't ask for. And so we come into this space a generation later where our mothers would never show up in this world like Lil Kim, like busting it wide open and talking about, you know what I mean? or Trina, and that's not disparaging those ladies, right? There's a certain freedom that we have that they didn't operate within. And so we come.
They just didn't operate within. They didn't even have.
Well, it didn't exist.
Right.
You didn't do that. Right? You just.
It was unavailable.
They would never. You understand what I'm saying? And
get some pearls like some pleasure.
And so you move from that in one generation to men or women literally being able to have whatever they want to out here in these streets. It requires a certain amount of calibration, right? And hopefully coming to ourselves and understanding how we relate and what we want and what you hope to achieve, and going about it with a certain level of decency, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're talking about. And so your topic, basically healing before dating.
Heal before you deal, right? We talk about like so many of us, especially at this big grown age.
You gotta quantify. Because I'm gonna give you your props. You don't look your age, so you gotta quantify. Like I'm 49. My grade may tell a different story than whatever you rocking, how you showing up on this camera.
But, I mean, I'm 52, right? And I think that anybody 35 and up, right? That we come into 35 and up and dating, because it would be a very different story if I had remained married, right? Because I met my ex-husband when I was 19 years old, right? And so I feel like if I were still married, this would be a whole different situation story, right? But at this big grown age, right? I'm a half a century into this thing, and we need to realize some things.
Okay.
That whatever has happened in our past relationships, right? They shape us. They shape us. It doesn't matter if it's a familial relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a romantic relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a friendship, right? These things shape who we are and how we view things in the future. And as we move forward in these things, a lot of times we jump from one situation to the next.
Absolutely.
And we've never taken the time to sit with ourselves and say, well, what happened here? And not from I'm gonna tell you, some of y'all looking for closure and you ain't gonna get it. If you need closure from another person, you may not get it, because people are exes for a reason. And it's not always like a super terrible, bad situation, right? Sometimes it's like it didn't work. We weren't compatible enough with each other to go the distance. And but we don't take the time to sit with ourselves and to deal with whatever is with our feelings. Sometimes we got to sit in our feelings. We don't always do that. Sometimes we're like, oh, I got to get over this, the best way to get over the next one is to get under the next one, right? The last one and the next one, right? And so we operate in that space, and so we're looking for the next best thing.
Yeah, I talk all the time about the principle of reverse engineering, and that is starting with the end in mind, right? And understanding what it is that you want, what it is that you desire. And when you talk about like sitting, being with yourself and realizing where you are, who you are, how you are, and what your opportunities may be, is something that a significant amount of people aren't willing to do, don't know how to do, or literally feel like they can't do. Some people literally cannot be alone. I know I have boys, like I have a good friend that's a dude that's like that. Like he's always on the go. He's always on the move. He's always out. He does not. I love my own company, so it's not a challenge for me. And then also some people don't know how to reconcile, right? Especially men, what their feelings are, what their thoughts are. We talked about how as from the age of young men, we're taught to disassociate ourselves from our feelings. So if they do allow themselves, right, to delve into how they feel, like, fuck do I do with this? Right? You understand what I'm saying? And so
I don't know what it is. Yeah, no, seriously, I do get that, right? And so we take those things that we learn, right, as children, man up, never let them see you sweat, even our girls, right? And I think that in our community, there's a lot of where people don't understand why you need to be soft and you need to be feminine and you need to be this and that. We thought we had to stand on our own, right? And that we couldn't count on always someone else to do it for us or be there for us and things like that. And so that doesn't mean that you can't relearn some things, right? And that's that healing. That's healing from your familial trauma, right? Because that can be traumatic, especially if you walk into a space where, like, I have boys, and
have girls.
and I would absolutely be looking at them sideways and want to take their esophagus out with my hands if I saw them, if I saw my son in a car with a woman and she's pumping the gas and he's sitting there, I would be like mortified, right? But that's how I raised them, right? Some weren't raised that way. And so we're always looking to place like, you're not a real man, you're not a this, and you're not a that. But he didn't know. He didn't know because he wasn't exposed to that. I'm gonna tell you 100% absolutely positively, I do not care who I'm with. If I'm with you and we walk down the street and me and you been cool forever. But if you let me walk on the outside,
but
I'm gonna be like.
But to your point, I saw that, right? And so I saw that growing up. I also, you talked about, we met in corporate America. You saw me showing up a certain way, even though we were in a casual environment. I came in with a tie and cufflinks. Well, that's because I saw my father leave the house every day with his shoes shined, a briefcase, a suit, and a tie, and he sat at a desk. So it set a precedence for me. And so when we talk about healing before dating, first of all, there's a whole segment of people out here who believe in healing together, right? It's literally called trauma bonding. They find somebody to latch on to, and that's neither here nor there. What I would say,
do you think people believe in that, or it just happens? Because I feel like
I've absolutely seen people say, find someone that you can love and heal together. And I'm not here to say whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. What I would say is a couple things. Healing suggests that there's a wound. And if there's a wound, be careful because you could bleed on someone. right?
And they are not the one that wounded you.
Some people are willing to tend to that, and that I think that that's okay as long as you're aware of it. But also, when we're talking, if you think about healing, the vast amount of things that you need to heal from require a certain level of care that's often beyond you. If you scratch yourself, that's one thing, right? You wash your hands, you put some ointment on it, you keep it moving. But if you gash yourself, if you're shot, if you're in a traumatic accident, there are things that you have to actually seek help with to heal from based on the trauma that's been caused, right?
You know, so I'll tell you this. I've never heard of people saying find somebody that you can heal with, right, together. Trauma bonding is crazy work.
But like attracts them. So people tend to attract hurt people.
I don't disagree with that, but to say that this is what I'm seeking out, not that this is what I'm attracting, and this is why I'm attracting it, right? Because that's a whole different story. But to say I'm going to seek out someone else who's just as broken as I am, so that we can.
I don't think it's that conscientious. A thing like,
okay, because that's how I was thinking. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not trying. No, but trauma bonding is a real thing. Listen. And trauma bonding is like, hey, I have trauma, you have trauma. We do come together because we have like traumas, but a trauma bond is hard to get out of, right? Because neither one of them can heal.
It's as simple as commonality. Right, the love of my life lives in the city. Crackhead love is a real thing. I see it all the time.
But you think that
that's an extreme example. There was a couple. They are on a tent on the corner in the city. They love each other. They're panhandling together in February. That's love. I'm not loving anybody. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Right? But what I mean is that like tends to attract like.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Even when it's unhealthy, right? And oftentimes people in that level of relative unhealth, right, or toxicity or whatever the case may be, are drawn to each other for reasons that aren't necessarily healthy or conducive to a great relationship, is what I'm saying.
Right.
You know what I mean? People who tend to argue, or people who look, Bobby and Whitney, when things weren't right, they were in love. Was it healthy? Absolutely not. Absolutely. But generally, someone who is healthy and whole is not necessarily going to be attracted to someone who lacks that substance. So it's much easier for people who are in that state of lack of health and wholeness to come together. And I'm not going to necessarily say there's anything wrong with aspiring to heal together, as long as you have the capacity to do that. And not everybody does. You tend to pull each other back down.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I think that, I think that, right, it's like putting you got the flu, I got the flu. Right? We really can't help each other. All we can do is suffer through it together, right? All we can do is suffer through it together. And like we've all seen, I can't remember the movie where the guy was like, he was gonna love her through her pain, right? Okay. But he had the capacity, to your point, to do that in that moment, in that time, right? Yeah. She was in a broken place, and he was willing
talking about the Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah, with Shamar Moore and the girl.
Yes, the dude was the lawyer and she was the prostitute. Okay. Yeah, Derek, I think Derek Luke. I know so. I know.
But I feel like your trauma is not, I say this all the time, your trauma is not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. Yeah. And we have to take our healing seriously in order to get ourselves help, right? And if I'm already in an existing relationship and I have some healing to do, that's different, right? And you can be like, all right, come on, sis, we got to get up get up, come on, girl, we got here, take this medicine, this food, we're gonna take you to physical therapy, we're gonna do things, right? But when you have to work on yourself.
But do you? Only reason I'm saying that, no. Your whole your indignation, the only reason I say that, right? In order to aspire to heal, you have to know that you need healing. In order to aspire to not be toxic, you have to first know that you're toxic. It depending on, hear me out, depending on how you're showing up, what you're looking for and what you're seeking, you may or may not gain that understanding. Everybody's worked with somebody whose breath is horrible, right? So Paul from accounting clears a room whenever he comes into the meeting. And everybody in the entire company knows that Paul's breath is rocky, except for Paul. And furthermore,
Paul's eyebrows moved from here to here when he opened his mouth.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about. And nobody ever has the courage to tell Paul, right, that his breath is horrible and he can't spell it. So, right, if you're a man that's toxic, but if you are handsome enough or you have enough financial means, you can have access to what you want to, and you can cycle through women without ever having any level of accountability.
But you think that man doesn't know that he's toxic?
It depends on what he's looking for.
No, it doesn't.
But
how does it depend on what you're looking for to know whether or not you're toxic?
So toxicity typically, it requires a level of self-awareness, right? So let me say this, either a level of self-accountability, right? Or a vehicle by which you govern, a set of principles or standards. And so for me, that's spirituality. That's my relationship with God, right? So I have a set of codes and morals and ethics.
Whether I know if I'm toxic or not. You mean I don't like? I need to. There's certain levels of like I need to know. You think people don't know that they're toxic?
I absolutely think that there are people out here operating that don't know.
People are out here. They are knowingly toxic. And
I'm not disagreeing.
And I think I don't want to give people a pass who don't deserve a pass, right?
Think about that.
And I'm not saying that you did, but I want to make it clear, right? We're not giving people a pass who don't deserve a pass. There are absolutely people out here who know that they're toxic and they are fully aware and happy operating in their toxicity, because what we're talking about, like and this is not just, we're not talking about men or women. These are people. There are toxic men, there are toxic women, and they do these toxic things, and they know that they're toxic for the most part.
Are women who operate as food pimps, are they toxic? I'm gonna date them all. I want to eat wherever tonight, and I have no interest in it, but I'm gonna let them take me out. That's toxic. You have to think about it.
Is that toxic?
Absolutely. The fact that you
say it again.
Say women who are food pimps.
I mean, I heard that terminology, but I never heard that before today.
I just used it for a fact, right? Women who have no interest in men. This dude, I'm not attracted to him. However, I feel like steak and lobster tonight. I'm gonna let him take me out.
That is toxic.
Some people would not think so. That's all. You understand what I'm saying? For a man who has no interest in a woman beyond physical attraction and sex, I have no interest in being with her, right? I'm willing to take her out for lobster and steak in exchange for sex. Is that toxic?
I think it's all toxic, right? And it's common, right? And so so when you have, if you're looking for, because here's where the game gets messed up, right? The game gets messed up because somebody done food pimped you, and now you think everybody food pimping you, right? And some dude over here, he all he wanted was ass, and he did what he needed in order to get that, right? And so, and I think that happens a lot, right? And then what happens is now people are jaded, and I have personally had someone tell me, we went out on a couple of dates or whatever, and they were like, oh, they thought I was gonna pay the next time because you're supposed to pay every third time. And I was like, listen, bro, I can't keep track. And 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 I don't have a problem with someone that I'm not casually dating, right? I got it. You know what I'm saying? We went out a couple times, bro. You feel some kind of way? Oh, well, I'm tired. He said, I'm tired of being a good time guy. And I said, what the hell does that mean? And he said, he was tired of being a good time guy, that at the end of the night, she would give him a hug and say, I had a good time. Right. And then he was like, and then Tyrone coming in and banging her back out. And I was like, first of all, that ain't your business. Who banging her back out? Right. But I'm not gonna pay the cost for whatever happened in your past, right? Yeah. That's your trauma. I don't own that. And I'm not going to start here. I'm not going to try to figure it out, bro. Go talk to somebody, put your feet up on somebody's couch and deal with your trauma, because clearly you were traumatized by the fact that you brought a chick some Carrabba's and she ain't getting no booty. I don't know what to tell you.
So what I would submit, right, is who we are and how we are determines what's toxic and what's not, right?
True.
So, a pig can live in conditions that a sheep can't. Pigs are happy and slum, and they will literally eat anything, which would actually kill a sheep. Catfish can actually live in toxic water, right? Polluted, they can thrive in it, right? Where a salmon cannot. And so who we are, how we are, what we are is gonna, like, that moral compass, right? That set of desires, those principles are gonna determine. And so that's why I said how important it is when looking at dating to sit down with yourself and be honest about whatever it is that you want. And here's what's dope about it. Whatever the hell you want out here is out here. It's out here in these streets for you. I always say, please just be upfront, honest, and consistent, so you give somebody the ability to opt in
or out.
Right?
And that is, I think that is the biggest challenge for me, is that somebody will absolutely sign on the dotted line. They will sign up for whatever bullshit you putting down, right? Man or woman. They are here for it. They're happy to do it. They are willing participants, and they will sign whatever you need them to sign in order to do so. However, when you force somebody into a situation under false pretenses, right? That is super toxic, right? Yeah, look, she real cute. I like her. She got, slim waist and a big whatever. I want to do what I want to do with that.
Right.
And now you start talking in ways that make her think that you were interested in something more, and you're not, right? And vice versa. Like, if you out here telling the dude, you really like him for dinner, I don't see that happening a lot. But what I do see, here's the other thing. We're not willing to ask the right question. And we're not willing to always be honest with what we're seeing.
So, and therein lies a key point, right? And so even our whole premise, right? Healing before you deal, I think is vital depending on what it is that you want. And so if you desire, right, purpose in a partner, if you desire someone that you could potentially spend the rest of your life with, somebody that's going to add to what you have, right, that's going to enhance you, that's going to balance you out, that's going to be your quote unquote better half, then you should know there's certain ways to go about doing it. For me, like I said, that starts with my spirituality. I also make sure that I surround myself with people that look like what it is that I want, right? So I appreciate the presence of people in my life that have healthy relationships, that have transparent, not perfect, right, but desire to get it right. I'll never forget this. We're very amicably divorced now. I have been for over 5 years, but just before I got married, I was at Verizon at the time. And I was actually leaving, like I was getting ready to leave a couple of days before I was getting married. I went to go see someone that I really, really respected, just to say, like, I'll see you when I get back. And she was in a hurry and she was saying, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta meet my husband because we have a counseling appointment this evening. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that. And she laughed and she said, no, she said, nothing's wrong. She said, we go to counseling as maintenance so that nothing becomes wrong. And I'd never, ever heard that before, right? And she said, the same way you don't wait till your car breaks down, right, to perform maintenance on it, that's how we approach our marriage. And so I look at things like that. I aspire to people who are doing the things that I desire to have. And generally speaking, if you look at the people around your relationships, what they have is not what you really want. And so to do different, you have to look at different to achieve and to get different too.
I'll say this though, like I was married for a long time, and a lot of times people think they want what you have because of what it looks like, that, right? And you never know. And I think we can surround ourselves with people who it looks like what we desire, but we have no idea.
But you can't. That's
but we
relationship.
We don't have any idea what it takes or what that relationship really is, because we've been taught to fake it. And a lot of times, how many people have you yourself included, where people are like, y'all getting a divorce?
However, but I also I actually have very good friends. Shout out my podcast name, Bruce and Dot, right? From them and from their relationship, from their marriage, I coined the phrase love out loud, right? And so when you talk about accountability, to your point, at this age, I'm only emulating people who have enough accountability, responsibility, and transparency. Like the intimate details of their life, right, aren't necessarily my business, but what I am confident is they're no facade, right? The books are open in terms of, like, we have real conversation. We bounce each other. Hey, bro, I need to run this by you. I'm feeling some type of way about this. I need you to balance me out. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I different? What do you think? Am I going about this the right way?
I think that can be good, and it can also be very dangerous.
Oh, you are.
Right? It depends on a lot of things. It's not just who you are. It depends on who you are. It depends on who these people are. It depends on a lot of things. And it a lot of times we're trying to model ourselves after other individuals. We're praying Sierra's prayer. We're doing all of these things because I want what they got. And really, the work is within yourself, right? And the work, and so when we're talking about healing before you're dealing, right? We really do have to sit with ourselves and understand, right? Because a lot of the time people will give you advice based on their situation, because they may not even be able to remotely relate to your situation. And so we really do need to sit again, going back to sitting with ourselves and sitting with our situation and sitting with our traumas and things like that, and dealing with those things, right? And I tell people, you gotta know who you're talking to, right? And when we know who we're talking to, this is why counseling, I think, I tell people, get to a third party who has no vested interest in whatever your situation is, right? Because they're going to look at it differently, and they're gonna advise you differently than someone who sees it, knows it, they know you, they know the other person. And yeah, you can have some trusted people. I'm not saying you don't have trusted people that you can bounce things off of in the moment and so on and so forth. I think it can be, I don't want to say it's always, it can be very dangerous to be like, hey, I want to model myself after these people because I like what they have going on. I do love what they have going on, but you know what? I want my own version.
So to me, it's more significant because you're right. So at surface level, anything, you can drink enough water that is dangerous, even take you out of balance. And so for me, I operate in purpose in all my relationships, in all my interactions. You and I talk at a level of depth in friendship that's, I've been told you. I done told you some stories. I done told you some stories, right? And so for me, like my friends that I'm talking about, I know that they have God-given purpose in my life. My old pastor used to say, you know people by their fruit, right? And so if people spend enough time around you, the seeds that they plant in you are either going to produce or they're not. They're going to positively impact you or not. They're going to be proven or they're not. And so, right? And so for you, like sitting with yourself was beneficial. For me, even though I can sit with myself, it's not really, because again, it's balanced by my spirituality. It's what I'm governed by, right? And so I have this set of principles and standards and guides by which I'm still going to rely upon. Some people, some of y'all don't need to sit with yourselves because you can't help you, right? You can't heal you. And if you could, you would have done it a long time ago. Go get help. SOS.
When I say sit with yourself, I don't mean just sit there and figure it out all by yourself. What I mean is not jumping into something else, trying to think that that's going to resolve your situation.
What I'm saying is because some people, it's what we know. We've had to rely upon us. So you're talking to somebody, my mother died when I was 15 years old. My dad was gone, but I was ultra self-reliant in an unbalanced way, right? And so when you talk about healing and self-discovery and these things, hopefully you can pull yourself, but sometimes you get to a point where you need another listening ear. You need, right?
Oh, I'm not saying that you don't. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
but sitting with yourself doesn't mean, I want to be very clear. Sitting with yourself doesn't mean I'm trying to fix myself. Sitting with yourself is where you are not jumping into a situation from one situation into another situation. Absolutely. Sitting with yourself is only you can do the work on you, right? And so sitting with yourself is really about, hey, I'm gonna sit down here and I'm gonna work on me. And that could mean I'm gonna go to counseling. That could mean I get me a life coach. That could mean I start reading some self-help books or whatever that looks like, and applying these things to my life, because I can sit back and I know, right? I have my girls. I know I can go to who I can go to who's going to absolutely 100. I could be wrong as two left shoes,
right,
and they're gonna be like, "Yeah, girl, that you was right."
That by itself, they're gonna co-sign.
You're like, there's people who gonna co-sign your bullshit, and there are a lot of people who are. You're only going to go to the people who co-sign your bullshit because now you feel justified in your foolishness, right? In your fuckery. And then when you're not going to go over here to Big Mama, because Big Mama going to be like, what? Say who?
Yeah.
And you don't want to hear that. So you're going to go where you're going to get the validation that you're seeking. When sitting with yourself is making sure that you, back in my corporate days, there was a 360 review, right? Where you're getting feedback from the people that report to you,
absolutely,
the people that are above them, like up, down, sideways, and backwards, mm-hmm. right? So you get a full picture of kind of like how you're related to everyone, right? And so, and that's what I mean when I say sitting with yourself. I don't mean go sit in the corner and rock and now you got the answers. No, sometimes you do, but you do need to kind of chill, yeah, and step back from the next best thing.
I very rarely give anybody advice, especially unsolicited, right? I would encourage everybody. So when I was single well, like we talked about this, I told you this. So I absolutely adopted the Hippocratic Oath. And if you don't know what that is, it's first do no harm, right? And it is what the medical industry subscribes to. And in dating, whether it was because of karma, right? Whatever you want to call it, I was unwilling to be out here playing with anybody because it's just not right. I did not want to waste anybody's time. And so you talk about accountability. I was talking to one of my homeboys, one of my day ones the other day, and he said to me, he was like, man, you know, I told her this and I lied so much that I probably did. And I was like, that's not cool. like flat out, like
I know this person.
Stop being messy, man. And I was just like, that's not like I'm not that dude, right? Like that's not cool. And what I said is you don't have to do that. You don't have to be out here playing with anybody. You have the ability to say with it, whatever the hell you want to do out here, there's somebody that's willing.
Sign it up.
And as long as both parties are understanding of what it is, then that's okay. But don't play with anybody. And so when I was single, it was easy for me to be by myself because I love my own company. I love to shop by myself. I can go out to eat by myself. You understand what I'm saying? I love me in the house by myself. I'm phenomenal in company. I really am. So I have no issue with this, but there are a lot of people who are not, right? They need to cling to something. And I'm not here to say anything is wrong with that. What I would say is be honest with yourself about whatever it is that you want to have, and then understand if how you're going about it is going to help you achieve that or not. And if it's not, it's okay, right? Not to know how to get there, but that's when you need to seek help, whether it's from a pastor, whether it's from a mentor, whether it's from a mental health professional, whatever the case may be. I don't know how to fix a car. I take my car to somebody when it needs to be. You understand what I'm saying? I'm a dope father. I think I'm a great dad. I show up. My youngest daughter wants braces. No matter how freaking hard I want to try, I can't put braces on her teeth. I have to take her to somebody who's capable and skilled at doing that. And so we have to realize it's okay to not know how to get to or achieve certain things, even when it comes to dating and relationship. But if you don't know, go find somebody who can help you get there.
Yeah, 100%. I think we all need to make sure that we're open to seeking the help that we need in the places that we need it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the time especially in our community, we don't want to seek help. It says that we're weak or whatever is out there. And we do need to work on making sure that we're healing. And sitting with yourself, sometimes we need to detox, right? We need a dating detox. We have been in a toxic situation for however long we've been in it, and whatever we thought it was going to be, and now that it's not, we need to detox.
Here's what's more. Even if your previous situations weren't toxic, you need to purge yourself, right? Because it might have been a perfectly healthy, beneficial relationship.
Yeah.
That you still need to.
I don't know if it could be perfectly because it's over.
Well, I mean,
something about it wasn't right.
Well, it could just be as simple as there wasn't permanent purpose in it, right? You know what I mean? You grow, you evolve, the other person, you go your separate ways. What I'm saying is they didn't have a negative impact. There was nothing toxic in and of itself. For whatever reason, it just didn't work. And that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you've conditioned yourself, right, to loving or interacting with that person in a way in which you may need to come away from before you interact with somebody else. People don't like the same things, whether it's from a communicative standpoint, whether it's from a sexual standpoint, whatever the case may be. You need to be able to adjust and go into this new interaction in a way that allows you to show up for that person and really truly be authentic and present for them.
I think the authentic pieces, and that's where we need to sit with ourselves, right? Because a lot of times we don't even know who we are. and we've spent so much time. And this is where what I hear a lot of times from women is that, I did all these things for all of this time, and now they're, they feel abandoned because now the relationship is over. And it's like, we got to find ourselves. We got to find ourselves post relationship. I know that I've been married for so long that I was just like, okay, when my kids would, it was my weekend off, right? I didn't know what to do. I did not know what to do. I literally they would go on Friday evening, and I would be sitting there like,
That's absolutely.
this is crazy, right? And my house being quiet, my house was never quiet, so I didn't know how to operate in that space, and how to deal with, like, oh, I have all of this downtime for an entire weekend. Like, what do I do? Where do I go besides sitting here and listening to nothing, because it's crickets in the house.
No, after separation, I went through that, having been married with somebody almost 15 years, right? And to your point, I remember what that was like when first your bed isn't
Your bed.
and the house is quiet, and like, I don't have to be daddy today, and I don't have to ask or wonder, what do you want for dinner, or do you need me to pick anything up on the way home? Like, what do I do? How do I do it? Moreover, what do I want? Right? But being selfless enough to at that point to take a step back. You know what? Not let me self-medicate or fill this void with another body, right?
Right.
So just so my bed isn't empty, right? Because I'm not accustomed to being on, and that's what I mean by first, do no harm. Don't be selfish in that regard, and bringing somebody into something that likely isn't going to happen or it's not going to work out.
And I think that we all have to feel, right? That, because sometimes we think that somebody's going to change, right? Oh, well, this is what they want right now, but once they see how amazing I am and taste my banana pudding, it's gonna be it's gonna be amazing. You know what I mean? And so we got to get real with ourselves. And some of us definitely live on the island of Delulu, and we are not operating and functioning in reality. But to be fair, in these toxic situations, people have created an alternate universe, right? And they have brought you into this alternate universe, and you're like, oh, I love it here. It's so great. It's so great. But it's not real.
There's also, right, so there's a responsibility, hopefully, that we have in dating, right? Love and legacy, just desiring to positively impact people, like, in just good decency, but also like protect yourself, right? Don't be so willing to jump into, if I were single right now, I'm not taking you out to eat to get to know you. I'm going to have a conversation. So the love of my life, we talked on the phone nonstop for 3 weeks before we ever went out.
Yeah.
And that's
me down for no.
Yeah, and when I say nonstop, I'm talking 8 hours at a time, right? And I can show you, because I still have them on my phone, hundreds of questions that I asked to gauge, like, do I really want you in my space? Are you really, not to sound arrogant, are you deserving of my time and my energy? And to be crystal clear about it, you're deserving of my energy?
Bruh,
it's valuable as shit.
Listen, let me say this. Number one, and I think, and this is where, like, I know we are aligned on a lot of things, and I ain't talking to nobody's son for that much time, especially if there's opportunity for us to see each other face to face. We better make this happen like ASAP, because my ears are bleeding and you're talking me to death. And don't be asking me a whole bunch of motherfucking questions, because I feel like I'm being interrogated. I feel like I've had those situations where, you meet somebody, y'all exchange numbers, whatever, and they're like, the first conversation it's like an interview, and I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm being interrogated or I'm interviewing for a job. I don't want this job. No, thank you. And so, but that's why I say there is a lid for every pot, right?
Because some people never ask those questions.
Because I prefer organic conversation.
But
And the art of conversation is so lost. When you say I had all of these questions that I have, and I'm not talking to you for all of these days and weeks before you invest in seeing me, taking me out.
So your point to each his own, right? And so for me, right? So we did a podcast episode called Sleeping with Strangers. And here's what I know. There are people right now who are in love, who procreated, who have children, who have mortgages, bills, years invested, and there are details about their partner that they're absolutely clueless regarding. There are women who are sleeping with men who don't know that their husbands were who molested his children. There are men sleeping with their women who don't know the trauma. They don't know the impact that their father had or his absence had on the woman that she's with. They don't know how they were raised or how they were reared or the most traumatic thing that happened to them and how it shows up in their life that you deal with right now that ultimately ends up in divorce. And so our conversation with my lady was absolutely organic. It was absolute. She was the most interesting person that I ever met. So it gave me a desire to want to know about her above and beyond what's your favorite color and what's your favorite food.
Let me ask you this question. Y'all were local to each other.
Absolutely.
So in all of this conversing,
yes,
you weren't like, so had you guys met in person prior or?
We had mutual friends. So I'd seen her. I've been attracted to her for 2 years before I actually had the opportunity to speak with her and get her phone number.
So you seen her out and about, whatever. And then you guys exchanged phone numbers at some point. And now for 3 weeks, you just conversing. What prevented you from saying, let's have this conversation in person?
It wasn't anything. Well, actually, so let me take that back. And it worked out really, really favorably. So right around the time we met, my car was totaled. Okay. And so I was without my car. I had a car, but I wasn't in a rush. We also had polar opposite schedules, right? Where she worked during the week, where most people are off during the weekend. And it happened to be a phenomenal blessing. She also has a young daughter, right? So the logistics in and of themselves, even though we were in close proximity, us getting together and going out like on a Saturday, like most people would, wasn't that easy. But the byproduct of that was us having real, genuine dialogue. And so the first time that we went out, I not only knew that I wanted to go out with her, I knew that I wanted to be with her, period. Like it was a done deal. And our first date was so much deeper than just a first date. I could show you the timeline. So probably.
I love that for you and her. I do. Whenever things work out for individuals, I love that for them. I know for me, and I know about me, right? Like, so my love language is quality time. And if my guy was not local to me, right? I've had a long distance relationship before, and we did all of that talking because we were not co-located. But if you're down the street, bro, I'm gonna need to see your face. I'm gonna need to see your face. Because I'm going to get super bored or uninterested in the fact that I don't feel like we're making the time that we need to make in order to see each other.
Listen, very quiet, very laid back. I have no air. I have no, I can't fake. I was talking to you while I was doing this online dating. And I got, for the few people I swiped right on and talked to, this is forced. You know what I mean? This is painful, to your point, right? And I love her because we exchanged phone numbers and she called me first, which was impressive. See, that's part of what's wrong.
And it's not how that was wrong. That was
Why'd you laugh like that?
no. Don't tell me it's wrong because it worked for you. But listen, if you like it, I love it for you. There is for me, right?
This is what I will say, right? So again, I'm going to go back to purpose, and purpose unfolds the way that it does. And we all have standards and we have preferences. And I love the fact that I'm in love with a woman that made me throw all of my preconceived notions about what I would and wouldn't and how I would and wouldn't go about it out the door. Not that there was anything wrong with them, but when purpose is present, something, and let me be clear, she is very much I'm not calling anybody before they call me. I love the fact that that's how she showed up. I thought it was impressive that she set that to the side because she was simply that interested in talking to me. It wasn't it wasn't a whole bunch of days that went by. I was literally texting. I was asking her, hey, when's the most convenient time for me to give you a call, being considerate? And she just picked up the phone because she knew what the rest of her day was going to look like.
Okay, so,
but again,
okay, let's lead with that.
It shouldn't even be that deep.
But it is, right? Because you made it sound like the way you said it was.
What if she just wanted to talk?
How fast? The way you said it was like she pursued you.
I didn't say that. All I said is she called me first. You filled in the blank.
I'm just saying that, but set the stage appropriately, right? Because the way that it came across, like, oh, I absolutely love that she called me first. It wasn't like you weren't trying to make arrangements to speak to each other, right? Or that you were like, hey. It's like
you made a whole assumption based on your preference.
But no, I didn't make an assumption.
Are you going to call dudes first?
I didn't make an assumption based on my preference. I'm probably not going to call him first.
Which is why you filled in that.
And when a dude gives me his number, I slide it back to him because what are we doing? Y'all want to be the head of the household. You want somebody to submit to you, but now you also want me to call you first.
I don't know who y'all is.
I'm just saying.
I mean, men who have understanding of what submission is submit themselves to the woman the same way the woman submits themselves.
I don't disagree with that.
So,
I don't disagree with that. And I literally have had people be like ask the question, like, can you submit to a man? Well, first of all, what am I submitting to?
So we did a whole episode. Submission is a biblical term and a word. If you don't subscribe to Christianity, it's not even talking to you. So remove it from your life.
I disagree with that. I disagree.
Well, that's factual.
Well,
you can adopt it if you want to, but it's
still a word, right?
No, what I'm saying it's not required.
It's still a word, and words have meaning. And whatever your religious beliefs are, right? And
I'm simply saying it's not a requirement. It's not referring to you. It is a set of guidelines and principles for people who subscribe to this. If you choose to adopt it, there's absolutely nothing wrong.
But regardless of if you're Christian or not, if you could be Christian and asking somebody to submit to you and you still don't understand.
What I'm saying is people get their panties in a bunch saying, I'm not doing this. And what I'm saying is it's not even a prerequisite. It's not even an ask. If you choose to, it doesn't have to be part of the lesson. And I don't want to get us off base, right? I'm circling back to, right? So I love the fact that this beautiful, gorgeous, intelligent, articulate, evolved woman, right, thought enough to set aside what she might normally do to pick up the phone just because literally, and we talked about this after the fact, right? And it set such a precedent for our interaction. Hey, let me give him a call because this is when I have a window to speak to him and I'm interested in speaking to him. And a lot of women aren't even willing to step outside of what their norms or their principles, what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. And in my opinion, that is a part of the unhealthy toxicity that people don't even think is toxic. You have this set of, at the end of the day, the fuck does it matter who called each other first? If there's genuine interest, mutual interest in talking to each other, it really shouldn't be that important.
I think that some things are important, right? And then there's this whole, and we talk about the toxicity of things, and we're talking about like, oh, well, we have these particular roles. And if you don't subscribe to that, then fine, right? Do your thing. But when you do subscribe to that and then you want to pick and choose what you want, and I love this and I love that, and I want this, you know, evolved woman who's going to come and pay half of my bills with me and so on and so forth because we're in a relationship. But I also want to be treated as the king of the castle and the head of the household. And I want her to submit to me. And I want all of these things because, you know, the man is the greater vessel and so on and so forth. Then I think that's where a lot of things get misconstrued.
Let's leave it over there. I don't even it talks like that. Oh,
but at the end of the day, I mean, and that's and we're saying miss me with that, but at the end of the day, that's what's out here, right? That's what's out here. And then at the same time, then we're getting upset because they calling us sassy and they saying this and they, you know, and so on and so forth. But at the end, but where we are is there, it's a cumulative situation where all of these things have come together, and now where we are is like we're against each other, right? It's it's the, you know, this or that and so on and so forth, and everybody wants what they want, and a lot of the times we're not willing to realize that we got to sit back and figure maybe that's not the thing for me. But I do think that the way that we position things and the way that we say, I'm not going to say I would never call a guy first, but I think that the way that we present things matter, right? And so it is, I'm definitely, if you say, hey, give me a call, I'm not going to call you.
So to your point, right? Because you talk about like what's sassy, whatever the case may be. Shortly before I got into the relationship that I'm in, there was a lady who was interested in me, and she said, "Hey, we should hang out soon." And I said, "Okay." And I took it as that, right? Because if a man approached you and said, "Hey, we should hang out soon," that's not how you approach a grown woman about asking her out on a date. I could hit you up and say, "Hey, I want a drink. Let's go hang out." But you're the homie. You understand what I'm saying? That's a misappropriation in my estimation.
What did you want her to do?
Of intent. She should have said what she wanted. If she wanted to go out, she would. I want to see you, or I'm interested in seeing you. So I absolutely.
I feel like there's so many like. I'm not going to speak. I don't speak for all women. But a lot of women want to be pursued, right? And we also want to give you the opportunity to do so, because what we've heard is, oh, well, we don't know if it's okay or not, right? Because there's so many things where don't talk to me in the grocery store and don't talk to me at the gym and don't talk to me over here and don't talk to me over there, right? So there's these lists that have created a situation where men are like, shit, I'm just gonna wait, right? Because I don't know when the right time is. So I feel like if a woman approaches a man and says, hey, we should hang out sometime, it's an opening of the door to say, hey, if you ask me out, I'd love to go, right? I'm not going to say no. But you took it as like, you should have said what you wanted. And no, that's what you just said.
No, I took it as though she said exactly what she wanted. She said we should hang out. Now, she also, I'm a very literal person. I really am. And I'm absolute. So anybody who knows me know I am very much say what you mean and mean what you say. I'm going to communicate very, this is my friend. I communicate very clearly with absolute intention. And it wasn't about, I wasn't pursuing because that wasn't my interest, right? And so if she desired something different.
But if it wasn't your interest, then it didn't matter. If you weren't interested in going out with her, whether she came to you and said, hey, we should hang out, or if she said, hey.
What I'm saying is we could have hung out. You and I can hang out.
No.
But that's different than going out.
I get it.
Right.
But if her intention was to express interest in you, and you had no interest in her, then the result would have been the same.
That's lack of relevance. In terms
It does not.
what I'm saying is what she said wasn't going to achieve the desired outcome because you didn't communicate it effectively.
But if she said what she wanted exactly the way that you would have expected her to, it still wouldn't have achieved the same the outcome that she wanted because you weren't interested.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
So the answer is the end result is the absolute same.
You should still be clear about what I'm saying is you want to be intentional, right? About if you want to date someone, if you want to see someone,
I don't want to misuse intentional, right? And I feel like her intention was to say
I can get with that.
Her intention was to say, if you ask me out, I'm willing to go.
If the first time you talk to a guy and he says we should hang out, how are you going to feel about that? Are you going to be okay with that?
I think it depends.
How he asks you out.
I think it depends on the person and how they respond.
Or the context with which he puts it in.
It depends on the person.
I would love to hang out. There's a movie coming out, or hey, we both like wine. And to your point, but I just think so in that moment, in that instance, hey, we should hang out, ain't hitting. Listen, we getting sidetracked again, right? But again, so I was coming back to saying I appreciate it, right? Because we all have standards. When I met this woman I'm in love with, I was grateful. And when you meet somebody with purpose, or you meet the one, things that may have mattered before tend to matter less, right? Like,
I don't disagree with that.
You know what I mean? And things that you may have, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do
again. I'm going to pick them up. No.
I told you about the damn cat thing, right?
Yeah,
I
think, and I think in a lot of situations, right? You can't say the right thing to the wrong person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And so it doesn't matter what that said to you.
Absolutely.
It wasn't the end result wasn't going to be any different. So while we're out here trying to make it seem like, hey, you should have said what you wanted just to be shot down anyway, it didn't fucking matter. And so, and this is, and to me, that's kind of a little bit toxic, right? Because at the end of the day, if I was still going to say no, it didn't matter. It absolutely did. You know what? Have a nice day.
No, we could have gone out. We could have absolutely hung out.
But if what you thought her intention was that she wanted to go on a date or pursue something more than just hanging out, and that's not what she said.
I absolutely thought she just wanted to hang out.
How did you know this?
It wasn't until after I told her I was in a relationship that she said, wait, I was interested in you. But listen, I have sisters. Like you and I are genuine friends, right? I have strictly platonic, beautiful friends. Like I understand that women, when you all go out, you can't even make eye contact with a man without him thinking or assuming that's the green light for him to come talk to you. You can't compliment a guy without him thinking that's the green light for him to, like you literally have to avoid or shut yourself off as to not misappropriate signs, right? And so I never assume when it comes to women's or their intention. I'm not taking hints.
I don't take hints either. Like, to be fair, I am that person. My girlfriends are always like, he was looking at you, and I'm like, I don't
listen,
know
if we're in a group setting and you, every time I say something that's halfway funny, I don't think that means that that's a green light for me to talk to you. If I'm interested, I'm going to try. But what I'm saying is, I did not take let's hang out as you wanted to get with me or you actually wanted to go out on a date. And we absolutely had like an established platonic friendship as I do with you. And so I wasn't going to take that and just going to assume, right? So it wasn't a matter of shot down. And we hung out before and it not been about romance. So I never made a move or tried to make a sexual advance towards her. And I think that men who have a understanding of who they are, how they are, what they're capable of, or have certain like not everybody out here is a whole sex hound, right? And trying to chase down every single thing that they can get with and get to. And I've never moved like that. And so I appreciated when it came to my lady, how intentional she was. And right, moreover, what I was getting to, I think that ability to set aside certain preferences that we may have had previously is a byproduct of that spending time with yourself and understanding that when it is what you really desire shows up, it might not show up like you thought it was.
That's
You understand what I'm saying? And being okay with, okay, maybe I didn't do that before. However, because I'm open to this, that healing or that self-awareness allows you to see things in a different way.
No, I definitely agree. I think, sometimes we have an aesthetic preference, or we have a whatever status preference and things like that. I think that you do have to spend that time with yourself to realize, like, what are the things? And this is like when you're talking about that detoxing, right? And being able to heal before you heal. Like, what is it that I really want? And one of the questions that I ask people is, what are your deal breakers? Right? And when I ask what your deal breakers are, like I've had some people say some really crazy stuff, like, oh, she gotta have pretty feet. I'm like, okay, so she could call you out your name every day of the week as long as she got pretty feet.
That's wild.
And they were like, well, no. And I'm like, so is pretty feet really a deal breaker, right? So, or should it be on your list? And then I say, you can only have 3, right? You can only have 3 deal breakers, because otherwise it's just a list of shit you don't like, right? I don't like somebody that got hammer toes, and I don't like anybody that got halitosis, and I don't like, like, and so, however, right, but maybe you meet this person that is amazing in all of these ways, and their breath is rocking, and that's something that they don't know how to fix, right? And so maybe you're like, oh, you know what? That's a conversation that you end up having, and they find out, oh, I didn't know that I could do X, Y, and Z, or maybe that I have this condition that causes that, or whatever that looks like. I ain't saying that if you got halitosis that I'm okay with it. I'm just saying we can fix these things. But we do need to spend some time and refine these lists and expectations that we have of other people, and to get really real and realistic.
And so the importance, right? And we could go on about this, like, we deep in it, but when we talk about purpose and a levels of self-awareness that comes from detoxing, right? Or having realization of self, or being understanding of what it is that you really want. If you talk about having purpose in someone's life, there's going to be something about them that needs the balance that you bring to them, right? And so I wouldn't go as far as halitosis, but I've been in a relationship before with someone, and they told me, like I'm fortunate I grew up in a house where dental hygiene was important, right? Like, that's how my mother raised us. We went and got our teeth cleaned, like, religiously. And this person, told me, like, I wasn't raised like that, right? And so as a result of that, they had to deal with cavities and got break these things. But that was a balance that I brought to her life that seemed small, that some people, and it was one, but some people may have excluded because of whatever their standards or their list was. But again, if you're going to be with somebody you're supposed to be with, there's something that you bring that offers balance to them, right? That in absence of you, they may or may not address. I absolutely know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and I'm grateful for the woman that I'm with, because where I lack, she excels, and vice versa. And so there comes the submission, because I trust her wisdom. I trust the work that she's put in. I trust the expertise that she has, right?
I said that because I was just talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about this whole, like, somebody asked me to submit, and I was just like, that's just great talk. I said, because actually you're supposed to submit one to another, and that's what the word says. And so why y'all want to get into it like that, right? It's that, you're supposed to submit one to another, and it's not one above the other. And being head is not just because, like, I'm not submitting to you because you have the right anatomy. I'm submitting to you because you have the right mindset, and you have the right vision, and that you have the right covering for this family,
Right.
right?
Intention.
And so I think that when we are when we're doing the work and we're healing in our from whatever our traumas are, and we're never completely healed. We're constantly healing.
That is
So
key.
we're not showing up fully. I'm fully healed and da 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 da. No, I'm healing, because sometimes we don't even know what some of the traumas are until they're triggered, right?
Or you encounter new ones.
And to be able to figure out, like, how do I cope with this? And how do I deal with this in this particular moment? And that's when I think that's that loving that pain. It's not like, oh, we just trauma bond in here and we just gonna make it work. No, we gotta do some work on ourselves. We have to we should want to show up as the best version of ourselves
Ideally.
every day,
Ideally.
right?
Yes.
And that's not to say that you're going to be better day over day over day, because there's going to be some days where you're going to have some relapses or wind backs and things like that. But your goal should be to show up as the best version of yourself each and every day. And that's it's me against me, right? It's me against me. I'm a very competitive person when it comes to certain things, but it's me against me. And we gotta be able to handle the situations that we dealt with, so that we can handle the situations that we're planning to deal with.
We're all shaped and molded by our experiences, right? And some for the good and some for the not so good, right? We are all works in progress, right? And it is why, right? So there should be certain baseline fundamentals, like because if you can't communicate with somebody, you do yourself a favor and make sure that whoever you're interacting with has the capability, right, to facilitate what it is that you desire. If you are with someone who has an inability to express their feeling, generally speaking, it's not going to work. If you have someone who is not willing to be honest and transparent, right, you're going to struggle. And so there should be some intangible, that we look for. And do the work. Love yourself enough to do the work. Love yourself. It's okay to not know how to get there. If you're with somebody that you feel like is the person for you and their challenges, that's okay. One of the tips that I would give you, right, if you work in corporate America, many of you have access to something called EAP. It's an employee employee assistance program. It is typically free. It offers free counseling sessions. Counseling doesn't have to be a bad word. I can tell you I've used it before. When you utilize those counseling sessions, you have the ability to pick specifically what it is that you want. If you want someone who's a woman, if you want someone who's Black, you can ask for that. If you want somebody who's Christian, you can ask for a Christian Black woman and they will literally run down these criteria, and oftentimes it'll afford you like 6 to 8 free visits or something.
And understand too that when you're talking about, getting that going counseling, these are still people. And so that Christian Black woman that desired may not get there in person. That person, don't be afraid to say, hey, you know what? I think I need somebody else. Absolutely. Because you want to, when you can't be transparent, this person don't know you, right? When you can't be transparent and tell the other people that you know and love, who care about you and want to give you good advice, all the things that are on your mind, you need to be able to be comfortable enough to give that to that person.
Let me say this, right? Because many people will run away from counseling too soon, especially in the initial, it does not feel good, right? There are things that some of us have to confront that you lived an entire life not wanting to, especially if it's abuse, especially if it's sexual, mental, or emotional abuse, places that you don't want to go back to, but sometimes are really necessary for you to move forward and obtain the relationship that you desire to. And so this is a loaded topic. Like, we could literally go
and we're not
all night. You know what I'm saying?
But we're not gonna go all night. Yeah, I do appreciate the conversation because we do need to detox in dating, and we also do need to realize that we have to work on our healing before we start dealing in other situations. And sometimes, and it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm taking the 5 years. No, it can be as simple as, let me sit back and like a debrief of what happened in here, and let me figure out how I want to move forward and what I want this to look like.
You fellas, if you interested in Paisley, she ain't gonna call you first.
Don't
It's not gonna happen. Get a number, call her.
That's rude.
Yo. Whatever. This is on tape. It's so good. Listen, y'all lean into love, right? Do the work first and foremost for yourself. And you talk about love your absolute self, and that's not absolutely always easy, but it's worth it. Do the work.
Sometimes real people work.
Y'all be good to each other.
Absolutely. We are here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Sippin and Soul Speak. This is the Love and Legacy series. If you joined us live, make sure that you drop your heart emojis down below. And if you're catching us on the replay, make sure you drop your number 2s in the comments down below. Don't forget to tell us what you're sipping on. Tonight, we were sipping on Still Moon Apple Pie Moonshine. Ask for it by name. And make sure that you show up next week because we got the final episode of the Love and Legacy series, and we have another brand to share with you guys. So make sure that you show up for us and show up for yourself. We want you to be dope because you are dope on purpose. Good night.
Take care.